Welcome to ACES53. What does ACES stand for? Attitude, commitment, enthusiasm, and smile. Why 53? Because there's 52 cards in the deck of cards. If you've ever played 52 pickup, not a fun game. But what is in poker the best hand is four aces. Four aces and then a joker card. And that's why we call it ACES53. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. This week, Ed is traveling and the Wi-Fi is not so good. So for once, I have the superior Wi-Fi, so I'll be hosting and talking about it today. What I want to talk about was someone I met through a different mastermind, and he came on and he talked about the power of questions. And we've all heard the thing, don't make statements, learn to ask questions. But when this guy came on and he started talking about it, he just could put things in such a different way that I found it fascinating. So what I wanted to talk about today is Jeremy Miner. So Jeremy Miner, and what he talked about was NEPQ questions, and that stands for neuro-emotional probing questions. So it's asking people to questions in such a way that they really end up persuading themselves while you're talking to them. And not only does he teach the type of questions to ask, but he teaches you exactly how to say it. So adding in pauses, things of that nature. So this training is really good. He just recently wrote a book with Jerry Acuff. So we'll pop that up here. And that is The New Model of Selling. I have not personally bought this book yet. It is on my list because if you saw my books over there, I've got about 10 that I still need to read. But that is definitely one of the next ones on my list, not just because of Jeremy, but if you've ever seen Jerry Acuff, he's pretty freaking amazing as well. So them two together, I've seen them on kind of talks, and I can't wait to read the book. Excuse me. Like I mentioned earlier, so I ran across Jeremy, just his stuff was really fascinating to me. So the way that he taught how to ask questions, and his kind of tagline is that he is the psychology of selling in the new economy. And he goes through his history of doing door-to-door sales, which is pretty fascinating. You meet a lot of people who either started off in automotive or did door-to-door sales, had to face a lot of rejection, and that's what kind of made them into the people that they are today. But when he learned to take these phrases and ask questions differently, that's what really made a change with him. And what he realized is instead of just going and giving a pitch, he learned that by asking questions, that's how he could build trust and create connections with people. So it's interesting because we hate being told what to do, but we love being asked a question. And what's interesting is sometimes when somebody asks you a question, that's when you find the answer. And ideally, if you're the salesperson who's making those questions, you're leading the person down the path of your product is what they're ideally looking for. But that's just the great part is in sales, there's a lot of people who show up and throw up. And what does that mean? They just talk. You know, I've got my PowerPoint, I have my presentation, and they just go a mile a minute and they don't stop and involve the other person. Well, if you have a pitch, but you don't understand the person you're talking to, you don't know what their needs are. And if you assume their needs, that's what gets you into quite a bit of trouble. So I really love this stuff. Like I mentioned, I went through his course on Lightspeed that he's got. His website here, let me find it for y'all, is seventhlevelhq.com. Great website. He's always giving value. He's putting stuff out on Facebook. He goes live a few times a week. He's always putting out emails about, hey, there's this new Zoom to watch. He is constantly giving out free information. So even if you don't sign up for his course or buy his book, which I recommend you do one or the other, and I have no affiliation with that at all. I don't get anything for his course. Like I said, that book is on my to-read list, but I just find his information fascinating. And one of the things I really love that he teaches is when you first come in, one of the big things is you have to detach yourself from the sale and really ask questions because, as Brad Lee likes to say, not every deal is closable. And what that means is if you make it about the deal and I have to do this, what do you get? You get commission breath, and that's when you start to lose people. So if you've ever seen my PowerPoint presentation, seen my keynote speech, I start off with a slide where there's a person that they're in focus and the audience is in a blur. And that's because too many people make it about them and their product and their company instead of making it about the audience. And when you really learn to focus on other people and involve them in the process, that's where you build rapport, and that's where relationships come from. So again, I really love this stuff. Check it out. What I find fascinating about it is in his videos, and I haven't read the book yet, is he literally teaches you how not to have attachment, but also when our pause is important, when you're asking questions. And he also teaches like immediately you have to qualify a person. So don't immediately start off with your pitch and about, oh, you have to buy my stuff. But what you have to realize is maybe your product isn't right for them. And that's why you're asking these questions to figure out, are they a good fit? Because one thing that you can do is if you sell somebody a product that they don't need, it's not going to end up well for you in the long run. They're going to give bad reviews, everything else. So determine, are they the right product? Is this a customer you want? You do all that by learning to ask questions. So the types of questions that he teaches is he teaches connection questions, like how to build trust and instant connections. Like in this one, hey, I was curious when you went through the ad, what was it that attracted your attention? Why are you asking them that? Because if this is a discovery call, this is a presentation, they've brought you in, you need to know what was it about your product, your ad, your company that sparked their interest. And when people tell you that, they're reminding themselves why they brought you in as well. And that's why that's such a fun one. And then what he also teaches is, again, we talked about you have to understand the customer so you can learn to ask what's called probing questions. And it's funny because you do this in kind of a skeptical tone, like, hey, tell me, if you did have the funding, is this something that would work with it for you? And that's where that pause comes in. So people are so used to the high pressure pitch on doing things and that you have to buy now. And in the industry I came from, there were some people who back in the day would bring a signed copy of the contract, be like, hey, you want to sign for it here? Where they had already signed on behalf of the company. People don't really like that this day and age, the high pressure sales, sign now, one call, close. People are very skeptical about that. They're thinking, why are you trying to push me? And we've talked about in previous episodes with Ed and I that you have to have so many touch points now before people trust you. And that's because of social media, advertising, Instagram, Facebook advertising, you name it. People want to see you. They follow you on YouTube. If you get somebody over to your YouTube channel versus your Instagram or your Facebook, they're not distracted by other people. They'll go through your entire content. But people, if you call them out of the blue or they reach out to you and you push too hard too soon, you're going to lose those sales. And that's what's really kind of fun about these is when you get them involved and you ask them questions and they answer themselves, then they're already selling themselves in it. And that's what this whole course is kind of about. So the next type of question that he brings up is solution awareness questions. So yes, I'm reading these off to you. It's because I don't have them memorized, but ask them a question to help how they can solve their own question. So, and I can appreciate that money might be an issue from what you told me. Tell me, how do you think you can resolve that? And when you do that, that's like the whole, I know you don't know, but if you did know, how would you do this? So if anybody's seen Tony Robbins or several other people, a natural reaction or saying that we have is, well, I don't know what to do. And so you can ask somebody, I know you don't know, but if you did, what do you think you'd do? And it's kind of along those same lines in that people will think about the answer. And a lot of times they'll answer their own problem and give themselves their own solution. Hopefully that's your product. And that's kind of what creates the solution awareness question that he has here. But it's fun to do these things and kind of play with it. And this was a big one. Once you're learning this, what I struggled with the most was I would watch the videos, I wrote down what he's saying, but I didn't role play it. And that's where the power comes in is how do you use those pauses? How do you ask the question? He teaches inflection when you're asking the different questions. So again, don't know about that in the book. From what I went and looked at, they only have it in paperback and hardcover, paperback and Kindle right now. Hopefully there'll be an Audible version later on so you can hear that. If not, definitely sign up for some of his stuff. Like I mentioned, he goes on Facebook quite a bit, Instagram, you name it. Next series of questions is NEPQ diffusion questions. So this is where they have an objection. You say something like, hey, can I make a suggestion? Have you considered, and then insert your product? Because a lot of people, look, when I worked with government, there was a saying that was, you won't get fired for not doing something. You'll only get fired for doing something. And that is if you make a change. So people, if they've got a current vendor, a current product that even works so-so, the devil known is better than the unknown. And that's where a lot of people are. They're very comfortable with where they are. Think about it. The first credit card you got, whoever your home internet service is, once you have it, the pain of thinking, oh, I'm going to switch from AT&T to Verizon or Spectrum or whoever it is, you start thinking about, well, how many days am I going to be out of internet? I have all my TV, I've got Apple TV, everything runs on my internet. What if I don't have those things? So people focus on the pain of change. And so that's the good news for you is if you are the existing vendor, we used to focus all the time on the pain of change. You talk about having to retrain people, how to learn a brand new product, the friends and family, you name it. But if you're on the other side, you need to throw this out there of like, what are the reasons to consider moving? Because you have to get people past that pain point when they're talking. I mentioned a little bit earlier, he's got a new book that he wrote with Jerry Acuff right here, The New Model of Selling. I'll put it in the comments as well. It is on my future list of ones to read. I highly, highly encourage y'all, go and check out Jeremy. The videos he has, his Facebook page, I think there's a joint one you can join. I'll put that in the comments too. And then there's obviously paid ones if you've taken his course like I did. He's got different versions of it. NEPQ, I think 2.0, and now I think he has 3.0. He's got a black book of phrases and things. This is killer content because we're taught to just basically go out and push our product. But really, you want to ask people questions. And that's what Tom Hopkins was about, right? And that's why this was kind of a natural follow-up to the previous week when Ed and I were talking, is Tom Hopkins teaches you a lot of language things. Jeremy takes it another step and adds questions to it, focusing on tonality, focusing on the pause, and really focusing on getting that information from the customer and having them, when they tell you something, then it reinforces their belief. So again, if they have an existing product, why did they click on your ad? Why did they bring you in? So people kind of want to be reminded of that, because what happens when a salesperson comes in, the wall immediately goes up and people have to be reminded why they had the interest. Why did they go out to bid? Why did they, click on your ad? What made them call you? If they were a referral, what made them follow up? And people need to be reminded of that. And that's really what questions can help do. So today, short, sweet, because there's only one of us here, the better looking of the two, let's be honest. But Ed would maybe be back next. Well, no, he'll be back next week. Sorry, not sure about Thursday. So again, spotty Wi-Fi where he's at. So may just be me. We'll see if we have a joker again this week. I may grab some more of the information off of Jeremy's coursework. Again, follow the website, follow him on social media, give it a shot. And of course, while you're out there on social media and everything, follow us here. Go to YouTube, ACES53, Ed Parcaut. I'll put up Ed's name in a minute. Of course, you know me, Brian Galke. I'll put, you've got my website here. You can tell I'm not used to talking by myself. This is a little bit awkward. I do 60-second videos, but talking here for 12 minutes seems like I've been doing this for an eternity. Follow Jeremy. Definitely follow Jerry Acuff. If you're not familiar with him as well, I'll go ahead and put his name in there. Let me create a new banner because I am Banner Brian. So Jerry Acuff. That's his name right here. And we'll see if we can grab his website while we're talking as well. See, this is how you know you're doing things on the fly. Let's see, jerryacuff.com. So we'll grab it. Once again, because I love banners, we'll edit, paste his in here, and pop that bad boy right back up. There you go, Jerry Acuff. What's interesting about Jerry is he also puts his cell phone on his website and in all of his books. And he came on one time and did a talk and said nobody ever calls him. And that's the interesting thing about people is once you start speaking on stages, once you write books, people think you're kind of out of reach. They put you up on a pedestal. And the interesting thing is, I know a lot of people, Brad Lee, Greg Reed, Jerry Acuff, they they answer their own DMs. Bobby Castro, I got to meet him this past weekend. Amazing guy. You got to look him up. But they're all people that answer their own DMs on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. So people always assume, oh, there's an assistant or somebody doing it. A lot of people want to be approached and talk to people. They want to understand the impact that they're having. How have they helped you? What information did you learn from them? So reach out to these people. If somebody inspires you, share that information with them, because sometimes it feels like a black hole that you're not getting feedback from people. It's always great when you get off a stage because people immediately come up to you and talk to you. But the bigger impact is when somebody reaches out to you a day later, a week later, a month later. My mentor, Mac, one of the ways that he got to know people was when he read a book, if it really touched him, he would send them a letter. Of course, now you can send people an email, but people want to know that their content is out there. So if somebody has made an impact on you, especially a positive one, reach out to the person, let them know what you did. Don't assume that just because they're quasi-famous, they're an author or anything, that they don't want that feedback, because most times they do. And sitting backstage and talking to some people, they are the nicest people known to man, and people won't reach out to them for fear of intimidation or, oh, they're a celebrity or something else. But I'm telling you, sitting behind stages, a lot of these people are introverts. A lot of people just want to know what was the impact that they made. So if somebody inspires you, I know I've said this 3 times now, so obviously it's important to me, reach out to them, let them know. Thank you for following us here on ACES53. Sorry Ed couldn't be here, so you have to deal with just me and my sparkling personality. Anyway, have a great day. See you later on.